Hey everybody, how are you doing? Welcome to Into the Core podcast with myself, Linda. It is such a pleasure to have you here. As always, it's another Thursday, another great vibe that is going to be going on here. I've got an amazing guest. Do you know the brand JUA? And if you do, would you like to comment and let us know what you feel about JUA? But before we start the show and I introduce you to the brainchild, around JUA. Let us start the show. Into the core.
Get into it.
All good things in Africa and beyond. Into the core.
Into the core.
Into the core.
Into the core.
Into the core. All good things in Africa and beyond. All right, so just letting you know that this conversation is powered by some amazing sponsors, the Rover Pan-Africa Hotel, as well as Paystack, and coming in very hot and heavy and super hot, JUA. Tommaso, welcome to Into the Core podcast. It is such a privilege to have you here. We met maybe 2-3 weeks ago at your JUA Watu, which I just think is such an amazing concept. But it was a pleasure being there. It was a pleasure getting to experience your brand, the different lotions, essential oils. So I just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can get into JUA, the product, and how you came about it.
Yeah, well, look, I just wait. I've got
No problem.
the standing situation. Yeah, fine, done. So, well, first, thanks, Linda, for having me here and for coming to the event. And when we say event, I mean you've seen it. It was just mostly my tribe showing up, and that's what I really liked. The first Drawatu we promoted on Instagram, and we got a really good mix of people, because it's people that see your Instagram. It could really be anyone, even if you can pick your demographic. What I liked was that a lot of Kenyan youth came, and the event was exactly to just explain what JUA is about. They work behind JUA, because you'll hear during the podcast, JUA is the tip of the iceberg. So I had people coming in, understanding more about essential oils, where they come from. Everyone knows frankincense and myrrh, but no one knows frankincense and myrrh. We had a nice discussion and a Q&A with a lot of people. It was amazing. Now the second JUA Watu, which is the one that you attended, I was just doing words of mouth amongst my peeps. So it was just great that people came and just popped bottles with me. We popped around a dozen bottles of prosecco, and no, but that is exactly what look. It was not a drinking competition, but it was an aperitivo.
It wasn't.
I know. So the aperitivo is a concept that comes from Italy, which is pre-dinner drinks, usually between 6 and 8. And that's exactly what it was, right? So the fact that we had a lot of people meant we need more bottles. So we popped away, and it was just fantastic, because we also wanted people to network. And look where we are. Isn't that exactly what JUA was about? We met 100%. That date. You learned about JUA, and now I am here.
I know it is exactly what everybody like. JUA Watu becomes a moment where everybody was exchanging ideas. People were meeting each other. Between yourself, Tommaso, and Chico, I got 2 people on board the core. One as a participating designer, and you obviously as an amazing sponsor, and not just as a sponsor itself. I just feel like you're JUA is an element, it's a vibe, it's something that we definitely all just need. So can you explain to us a little bit about the concept of JUA and how JUA came up, and about the brand itself?
Absolutely. Look, I moved to this country in 2014. I know this sounds like this intro is going back, but it is going back because it's important to understand where I come from.
Yes.
So 2014 is it's pretty fresh, actually. I mean, I could start from before because I always had a curiosity about working in this continent, specifically in business in rural areas. I believe rural Africa has so much potential, and it's so informal in many ways. And first as an NGO and then as a private sector, I really tried to be part of the growing system, part of the building structure, part of the social and business fabric, right? So I did that as an NGO. I created alternative livelihoods for an Italian NGO between 2015 and 2018. Then I decided, look, this is where I'm going to stay. I mean, I loved the first years in Kenya. I was posted in Isiolo, and people were like, what, why? What's there? Bandits. Mostly Kenyans have a distorted understanding of Northeast Kenya. I found it absolutely beautiful, stunning, has a rugged, raw sort of beauty and feeling. And I thought, look, let me understand and let me see if I can continue the work that I was doing with the NGO, but now as a private sector. And by that, I mean, I realized that most of the challenges in the North rotated around the lack of market linkages, the lack of private sector. Look, there is a volatile security, lack of infrastructures. There's a lot more challenges, but market linkages was actually one of the biggest one that we kept on seeing with the community. So what I did is I couldn't find a private sector that was working in the project that I was coordinating, giving the exit strategy to the livelihood activities that we had in Isiolo County. I could find trainers, I couldn't find an output for the products that we were creating with the communities that we were collecting, whatnot. So pretty much in 2018, I became the private sector that I couldn't find. And that's how Agar Limited was started, which is a creative acronym for African Agency for Arid Resources Limited. It's a long, self-explanatory name. I mean, you've seen the name, what we do. That's why JUA's full name is JUA by Agar. It's important that Agar stays in the picture. It's important that Agar is part of the name, because JUA without Agar would be just a cosmetic line, just a room amenities line, just a line of blends, just a line of essential oils. But JUA by Agar tells you that behind the brand, there is a huge base of community work, of landscape restoration, of market linkages, of consultancies of value chains, and all of the things that we do as a company, which includes creation of seedlings in 2 nurseries. We are opening up to 8 new tree species this year. So JUA is the brand, but Agar Limited is the pyramid, the base of the pyramid that created the ground for JUA to sit on top. So we are happy to have now a shop where we can tell our story to more people, because before we could do it just during markets, fairs, but now that we have a village market shop, and I love village market as a mall, it's vibrant, it's always full. Village market was one mall that I wanted, and I pushed and pushed and pushed until I got that one. I didn't even have another option. It was only village market for me.
I love
so I'm happy that JUA is there.
And the fact, okay, so tell me a little bit about like the people that you're working with, you know, on the Agar, you know, from your pyramid space, right? Talk to me about the livelihood, how you're sourcing, what makes this brand super sustainable. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's very messed up. What we really overuse the word sustainability, but there is the impact that you have created with Agar Limited.
Right. Well, we were born pretty much as a social enterprise, but in Kenya, every second, third company has a social mission because of the inequalities and because of the development that is still required in the country. So that was not specifically special. What's special is where we do it, which is arid lands, which is Isiolo, Marsabit, Samburu, like Hipia, recently West Pokot. These areas are highly neglected. They are very much out of the spotlight. They have a bad rep. Like when I started working in West Pokot, everyone was worried about bandits and cattle rustlers. That can happen, but what I reply to people is, do you understand that the most dangerous place in Kenya is Nairobi? Okay, it's probably Mandera, but after Mandera, it must be Nairobi. It must be Nairobi. So I really focused on specific counties and areas of this country. I calculated once that our area of operation for collection, for farming, for operations, activities, and everything field related is as big as Switzerland, just to give an idea how massive the northeast of this country is. So we work specifically with pastoralist communities to get back to your question. And pastoralist communities are semi-nomadic usually, although they are more and more becoming sedentary. They're more and more getting into seasonal crops. But yet there is a lot of nomadic life and pastoralist life still connected. So it's hard to find a livelihood that is not livestock. So livestock is 80 to 90% of livelihood for pastoralist communities, of course, goats, sheep, and of course, cattle. So we understood that we had to diversify this livelihood. And that's how we started with Gum Arabic. That's how we started with frankincense and myrrh. And in 2019, between 2019 and 2020, we understood that aloe was a fantastic resource that could grow very well in arid lands. Now, it's not aloe vera. This is what everyone believes. Aloe vera is... I know, look, it's very common. Literally everyone does it, like 99%. Aloe vera is one species out of 500 globally, and it's called Aloe vera parpadensis. One. Okay. And it's not indigenous to Kenya. It's introduced. It's the most common. That's why it took over the name of every aloe. Aloe vera is the one that you mostly find in cosmetics, in food and drinks, in supplements. It's that one, but it's not adaptable to where we work. Aloe vera needs more water. Aloe vera needs absolutely needs more care, needs more fertility in the soil, and it's more subjected to pests. Our aloe, which is called secundiflora, it's a miracle plant. It's resistant to drought. It grows on rocks and sands. You can see that aloe everywhere. It is believed 2/3 of every aloe in Kenya, it's aloe secundiflora, our species. And you can find it in Coast, you can find it in Kajiado, you can find it in Nairobi, you can find it in Marsabit. We grow it in Nanyuki, which is pretty cold and wet. It just is a very adaptable plant. So that's how we work with communities. We train and equip them in a number of livelihood creation, namely gum arabic, frankincense and myrrh. This is collection of gum and raisins, which also become the essential oils, and aloe farming. We out-farm and we collect sustainably from the wild, from usually Laikipia or Samburu, and that sustainable collection becomes the base of our cosmetics. So we collect the leaves, we create an income for pastoralist communities, and then we process it into powder. The powder then goes into the cosmetic line of room amenities, what we sell to hotels, right? And then we scent it with frankincense and other essential oils from within. So this is a homegrown line of cosmetics, and it's an impactful line of cosmetics, and it impacts specifically in the north. The base of the cosmetic is from the north. The scent of the cosmetics is from the north.
It's amazing. I feel like JUA and for me, we were just thinking about, we were talking about this on the sidebar, but it was about JUA and it was about, sorry, I'm going to bring in the gin brand, Procera, where they're just like, oh my gosh, this gin brand, made out in the Nanyuki area, absolutely fantastic, sourced locally. And we're just like, man, so many beautiful things happen in Kenya. Why do we keep looking outside of our country rather than really looking in and utilizing? But then again, nobody wants to go to West Pokot. We'll just allow Tommaso to come in.
Exactly, exactly. Sometimes I'm like, look, if you can do what I do, where I do
Yeah.
it, I mean, kudos. You please, by all means. I have little competition because no one wants to work where I work, and to be honest, it is pretty challenging. It is pretty difficult. To get back to your point that you just made, Kenya make a lot of quality products, a lot,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they are either very small, and those ones are all of the artisanal brands that you find at Beats Bass, Pop Up and Chill, and other markets, right? Or in the small pop-up stores. Those are small companies, handmade products. That's how we started. In a way, that's how we still are. But
Yeah.
luckily, we got an outlet, which is hotels, that allowed us to scale up, right?
Yeah.
And we got
Yeah.
a grant, and the grant from the British High Commission in 2021 really
Yeah.
helped us scaling up our operations. But that's how we started. Small essential oil, no shop. What we need to understand is that Kenya has sometimes either little compliance or over compliance. So there is a lot of business that cannot get through the first compliance system. And then you have the big companies, and a lot of big companies make products that are quality to export. So we
Yeah.
have this gap. We have this gap where Kenya produces a lot of good quality for the international markets, a lot of good quality, but very small scaled. And in between, we get imported things that could be good, but a lot are not. A lot are
Yeah.
not. So we import a lot of rubbish, forgive the term, and we could
Yeah.
we could do a lot of top made in Kenya quality products, which is what we are really trying to do. And I do want to export as well. Don't get me wrong. I want to earn in euros, pounds, yen, dollars. I do. We all do. We all do. But
Yeah.
we really believed in the Kenyan domestic market, and we are happy that we invested in it.
Yeah, and I think that's, I mean, it's a good show, and I really like what you've said is that that there's people who, even in the smaller markets, their problem is just getting their compliances to that next level and finding a backing that could take them to that next level. At the same time, I want to give you your flowers and say congratulations, because that's a huge feat. I feel like why I mentioned this to you, I know I did. I wanted to introduce you to Revolutionary Coffee was because she decided to make export ready coffee available for a local market, which is what a lot of Kenyan coffee brands don't do. I'm going to say there's very few who actually allow for this, but that's why I was just thinking. That's your coffee scrub on the way.
Correct,
In terms of
correct. We started,
collaboration.
by the way. We started with the prototypes.
Oh, you did? Oh, fantastic! Oh, this is
So I'm
amazing.
looking forward to meet her. I hope she will be at the event next week, so that I will be having a chat.
Oh, oh, she definitely will. In fact, I'm doing the WhatsApp right now. I'm connecting you guys immediately. I mean, like, and then
Fantastic.
just leave it to you guys. But tell me, so right now, on terms of where JUA is going to scale up, what are the type of, like, now collaborations you want to do the coffee scrub? But what else would you be working towards? Are you thinking, what is your year projections? Because I think, Tommaso, you're the guy who's like this. You're like, let's go, jump in, let's go.
Oh, Bobo, I'm a huge planner. I plan 1-2 years in advance. I think you have to if you have a empire to build. I don't want to build a brand. I want to build an empire. I want to
I like
build
that.
a castle. I am incredibly ambitious, and I just don't want to have it. I want to create generational wealth, but to be honest, wealth is not why I'm in this and why I'm risking my life. I got shot at twice by Morans in the north. I just have a lot of passion for what I do. Yeah, I mean, that's why I have aged so fast. The north is not for everyone. It really has a lot of challenges. So I'm a European man. I feel like it is very much my country now. I put roots in Kenya, and I will always have a Kenyan base. But I do want to go back more gradually to Europe. One reason is my folks. I want to have my folks come in more. I mean, I'm an Italian man, and I'm family oriented, so that's fine, right? So, but the thing is, Kenya and Italy are truly now my countries, and I want to have a foot in both. For the last 10 years, Kenya was my plan. Kenya was my goal, and I have built something here. Now I want to use this bridge between Kenya and Italy to create a distribution channel in Europe. I am looking at other markets, of course, but Europe is where I'm from. If I can impact a specific market, why not impact a market that also belongs to me, which is a European one? So I also believe European buyers are a little more concerned about traceability than maybe other markets. I know that buyers have more compliance and more demands in terms of procedures, in terms of traceability, transparency. That's what we stand for. So I believe Europe, the old continent, the slow continent, can still have so much to say in the international stage. And I want to create that East African European connection, because Kenya is not the only country where I want to work. I want to set up a base in Uganda. I love Uganda. I lived in Uganda for 2 years before Kenya, and we can get great shea butter. We can get amazing bamboo products. There is so much that we can do with sustainable exploitation of natural resources between the two countries. And I have a weak spot for Uganda. So this is where I am going, Linda. I am going to create a big distribution channel for East Africa where we create and we add value here, which is what doesn't happen too often. The African companies that export, too often they export raw or value-added, like transformed, simplistically transformed resources. We don't do enough value addition in the country or in the continent. Look what's happening. Look what's happening with Ivory Coast. Finally, they said, look, you can get all of this raw cocoa and make $1 million from on the shoulders of these cocoa farmers. It's ridiculous. So I believe we should follow the same thing. Let's make these products here. We can. We have the capacity. We need a government that helps us. We need a government that gives us, incentive, not just hit us with taxes. Hopefully, we get that support also from our government. And Europe is the first base. I want to set up a company in Europe. I want to create a bridge, and I want JUA to be an international recognized brand. As we also export bulk ingredients, which is what Agar Limited was created for, was for commodities, raw bulk commodities. We got into retail when COVID hit. When COVID hit and we lost all of our export leads that we have created with Japan, UK, Italy. I had already signed a distributorship contract with Italy, but it was, but it was, in fact, not the contract. The actual guy that I have signed the contract died. The person. So that's what happened with COVID. So
oh my gosh.
Italy was hit very hard by COVID at the beginning of 2020. So we lost all of our leads. We had to regroup, and that's when we invested in the domestic market, knowing that COVID could keep us all in apnea for the next whatever years. So that's how JUA was. Well, in fact, that's another thing to say. Essenza was born in 2019, 2020, 2021. JUA is a pretty new brand. It was born out of the ashes of another brand called Essenza, which was our first brand with a completely different logo. But Essenza didn't have the same traction. In fact, when I changed brand, the sales went up 5-6 times just because of a different label. That tells you how big visual impact is.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, like, I'm just gonna track back to you impacting East Africa and using our natural resources. I think is super important because, as well as because it's a lifestyle brand, is how I would look at JUA. Equally is how we are thinking about sustainable fashion and pushing that type of fashion tourism. It would be so great to have people to even come down, the editors that we are trying to bring in, the editors that we want to bring in for our November event. I feel like these are some of the things where I'm just like, it is important for you to tell the right stories, not just to, beautiful, great brand, but to go back and actually see how it is really impacting people so that when you are publicizing it or putting it out there, that you have the narrative, you tell the real story behind a brand or why it was sourced.
Absolutely.
It's from. I met this amazing lady 2 days ago. Susie was doing her launch equally, and she's impacting, like, she's already in 12 counties doing trainings, and I'm talking about like fashion, getting people into training, showing people how to use from fiber to fabric, cotton to fabric, and trying to impact their communities. Still a lot of hard work, but I really applaud and admire what you guys are doing because it makes it so much easier for me to say, hey, come November, we want to put JUA on the map. How are we driving down to Pokot? Can we start getting counties involved? How do we get the support? And this comes in where you're looking, businesses are looking for government support. Well, they also have to understand the real stories behind brands like JUA and Agar Limited, what you guys are doing, and why there needs to be a support system because you're helping an economy, you're growing an economy, you're growing communities. So it's super, so it's super important for us to do that. I want to give you a couple of final last words about JUA. And I just, even before we get there, I want to tell guys, so JUA is one of my sponsors, and I'm just super proud because brands like him just make it reason why I'm doing this event. Doing fashion events is not an easy feat, but we're out here and we're pushing for all the right reasons so that we can be more impactful when we do events like this. We want to bring the international market space also here. My thing is like, if everybody's running to Paris and Italy, I'm like, you need to be running to Africa too, because this is where you draw a lot of inspiration. This is where you draw a lot of material. So it would be great to have a couple of events, internationally grown events here in Africa, in Kenya. I start with Kenya, home ground first. Those are my dreams, because I'm just like, as I'm building this empire, we better be very impactful and make bigger moves and bring in some of that euro and dollar and yen, as you said.
Plus, I believe, Linda, we have. I believe now we have a responsibility to act in some sort of capacity towards climate adaptation, towards eradication of poverty, and it's just not a. It's not just a sale pitch. It's a duty that now we have. We lost the fight against climate change. It's lost. So right now, that's why we don't talk about climate change anymore. Or we shouldn't, at least. We need to talk about climate adaptation. We need to adapt ourselves to climate change now. That's what we are doing. We are trying to restore landscape using drought-resistant plants and trees, because the desert, arid lands, together with coast and islands, are the front line of climate adaptation. Those are the areas that are majorly affected by the change in climate patterns. So I call myself an impact entrepreneur because what I do needs to have an impact. Socioeconomically, sure, there is a lot of people that are doing that are including the most vulnerable sides of society. That's what we want to do too. But we understood very, very early that if we don't act also towards climate adaptation, we are missing an opportunity to do something. And this input needs to arrive from all of us. And by the way, I don't know if I told you, but I'm from Milan in Italy, fashion
Yes.
capital.
Yes.
I was grown like a person and a professional within the famous Milanese runway shows and catwalks. I breathed that sort of air since I was very, very young. And I also have a past in fashion sales. I used to be a sales officer and boutique manager for Italian brands when I was living in Sydney, like Cavalli, Armani. I've actually worked in fashion for a while before I got into and ventured into development and all that. So I love, and I have been involved in the eco fashion week that was going on last year, I think November, with the guys of Sustainable Eco Fashion and the Swedish cooperation was involved. I want to involve myself with any event that talks about responsible buying, responsible selling, sustainable diversity, and all that. And few people understand, and few people know that the fashion industry is the second polluter in the second. That's huge.
It's massive.
Yes. So actions are needed, specifically within the fashion industry, to reduce this ridiculous amount of waste that is not recycled. So I love what Kenyan and East African designers and business entrepreneurs are doing, because they understand the value of circularity, which is something that we are integrating as well, and the recycling, and that's great. But then again, Kenya, in my opinion, I've lived in about 6 countries, not traveled, lived. And I can tell you by far, Kenyan entrepreneurship, unbeaten. Absolutely, the creativity and the hustle that Kenyans put into their activities, and it's unmatched. There is so much creativity for entrepreneurship right here. And we need to understand how to help it. That's why I work as a business coach as well, Linda. I also help young entrepreneurs get in compliant. I do.
We need to. I have a workshop that I'm trying to gather my head around, but then now that I know that you're there, I'm like, all right, Tommaso.
I'm in that space.
Okay.
Not only, I want to launch an incubator in Nanyuki at our office, where I will be coaching and supporting up to 10 enterprises that only operates north of Nanyuki, because we need to keep focusing on the vulnerable and on the remote areas, because there are so many programs in Nairobi, a few in Mombasa, but who's looking at the communities in Merille, in Barcelona? Those guys have really little to work with. So we are really trying to keep impacting. So I am a business coach. That's something that I do on the side, and plus I'm fundraising for an incubator. The incubator will be supporting arid lands enterprises.
All right. So my thing is to see how the core and collaborative, how we're pushing on the fashion tourism, which collaborators would like to come in and support such an incubation. So we're definitely going to work towards that and see how we can, for us, come and facilitate and help, in whichever way. Either it could be through, spreading the word, connecting. I always just think collaborations, connections. I call myself a facilitator, so that's where I stand, but I do admire everything that you're doing. You're a jack of all trades. I see you, Tommaso. I see you very loud and clear. I knew it was going to be fascinating speaking to you, but this is mind blowing. And I think you're a game changer. And I like game changers and I like impactful people. So well done.
Well, I'm a former attention deficit disorder kid. So I've been always hyperactive. Luckily, sports at the beginning of my teens, swimming and basketball really channeled my hyperactivity. And then my passion just took over. I believe, as an Italian person, passion and my hot blood, it's part of who I am. I wouldn't change it for the world. I believe passion is the backbone of everyone's life. You should do something that really impact what you do, because after a certain age, we really are what we do. And what we do should be really define you. And I am very happy and I'm very lucky to be a man of purpose. I have purpose. I wake up every day. I know what I have to do. So that's a huge drive. And my son Dante is another huge drive. What I do is also my legacy to him. And this is a big thing, no?
Yes, it is. Huge things. Those are our drivers, right? I'm going to give you final last words. I just know that when I started Into the Call podcast, it was about inspiring people, in Africa and beyond. And you're definitely a very inspiring person. And it's such a selfish podcast. I did this to continue to inspire myself, to have conversations with people who, because, sometimes we lose focus. Somebody comes and they want to start talking about somebody else. I'm like, who cares about that person? Talk to me about something that you're doing. Talk to me about what is impacting your life. Talk to me about where you want to go, how you're going to do it. And that's Into the Core was just about this. It's about your core. It's about sharing what you're doing. And hopefully somebody will be inspired to say, how do I reach Tommaso? And if you really want to reach him, you just need to follow him on IG, Look for JUA. So why don't you give your handles for everybody to follow you, and let's look for that incubator and let's get people involved.
Absolutely. Well, first, come on, you're not a selfish podcast, because otherwise you would not air this podcast, but you would want to just have one-on-one inputs from me. And so, no, this is a great platform that you're creating, Linda. And you see how we went from just meeting 2 weeks ago and having a glass of Prosecco to talking now in your podcast, and in a week time, being at the event together. So I believe people of purpose tend to meet and build very fast. And when I worked for the development, actors, I still do, by the way. I consult for the Italian government, the UN. I'm a value chain specialist. So I believe synergies are massive need that we all need to have. Even when I enter into a market, I first thing I do is to see how I complement myself with other companies rather than compete. And if I compete, I believe in healthy competition. I am happy to have a few competitors that I look up to. I think that's very important. And look, your work ethic will do the rest. So that's my last bit. But for knowing more about JUA, we are in the process of redoing the website. So I am gonna give it to you, which is very simple. If you Google Agar Limited, that's it, AGAR Limited, you will see so many of our platforms: Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, although we don't use so much every platform. We are definitely very active on Instagram. We are quite active on LinkedIn, but definitely I can be what do you say? I can be contacted. Sorry, the word didn't come to me. I could be contacted even through my personal Instagram, which is my name, Tommaso Menini. So I'm always open to hear project, and to that's why we are here with you in the event, even if you're not directly involved in fashion, because it's about sustainability, right? So
Yes.
we can be found in the Village Market shop. So if you want to know more about JUA, we have very trained and capable staff that will be able to take you through what we do, just like I did, to assist you through your purchases. We are located at the old wing in Village Market, just beneath Carrefour, in front of Chapa Copy. And our own stock is there, our old stock is there, and we are adding more and more items to the catalogs. As we were saying, we're adding a scrub, we're adding a mosquito repellent, we are adding more body butters. We have a lot. It's very exciting. That's why I work until late and I wake up early, and that's why I have constant eye bags. But yes, that's my purpose. I picked this life.
I love it, and I'm wishing you the best, and I can't wait to see you next week, Friday. So anybody wants to join us, we're going to be at the Shamba. We have a beautiful fashion runway show and installation. It's a combination of both to allow you to experience the brands. And we are starting at 6 p.m. We have tickets right now that are going on sale. Paystack is our financial partner. And so if you want to get more information, the Core Fashion Kenya on Instagram, we have our Paystack tag there. And right now, for the first 100 people, we've got such an amazing giveaway. We've got Marula House in Galu is giving 1 night free if you book for 3 nights. We've got Casa Zuri also in Diani that is giving 1 night free if you book for 4 nights. We've got beautiful gift bags from JUA. We've got gift bags from SB Dada, which is Susie Beauty's new brand that she just relaunched this past Sunday. We've got 15% off of Tarangao in Kilifi. Talk to us. We've got you covered. Your 7,000 shillings is so worth it. It's over 200K straight.
Linda, why are my products not in all of these houses and hospitality structures that you just mentioned? Please introduce me to these structures. You know, we put our products in, hotels, resort, lodges, all of these beautiful places that you just mentioned. Make an introduction. We need to sell.
We're doing it right now. I promise you, this phone is going to work right after this. But this is exactly what the collaborations are about. So I'm going to stop those conversations. But I appreciate you and I thank you. And so everyone, thank you so much. And if you're listening, after, just make sure you follow us. Agar Limited, look for them. Follow Tommaso Menini. He's on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And LinkedIn. And we've got so much more happening. So make sure you come out for the hatters. Oh my gosh, the hat people. Do you wear hats?
Not so much. My head is too big for a hat, I think.
Oh, but you're still going to love her. Anyway, so South African designer who's a hatter is coming in, so you don't want to miss out. But I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time.
Very much looking forward, and I'm going to dress up for it. I'm telling you now. I'm going to dress up.
The Milan guy is going to show up. I can just see
exactly.
it. Oh
exactly. I am transforming into my Milanese identity, not the Northern Kenya ones. But believe me.
We'll make it worth your while. We'll make it worth your while. But thank you so much, Tommaso, and have a beautiful day ahead. And let me get those contacts going right now. All right,
Thanks
guys.
Thank you so
much. Thank you to Paystack. Thank you to Sarova Hotels and all my valuable sponsors, JUA, SB Dada, Tanga Rao, Body by Allison. There's so many, but I really do appreciate you. And thank you for believing in the brand, the Core Fashion Kenya. Thank you. Have a lovely day.
Bye, everyone.